Hi traders, welcome to the comparison operators lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how we can compare certain values to other values and get a Boolean result, so a true or false result. So let's start with less than. If you want to check if a number is less than another number, we use the less than sign, the left arrow sign. So for example, 1 less than 2 will return true. If we execute this code, less than will be set to true because 1 is less than 2. Now these operators are obviously very useful in detecting certain candlestick patterns. So if you're trying to detect an engulfing candle, for example, you need to check if the current bar's close is greater than the previous bar's open. So to check something like that, we could say, is the current bar's close lower than the previous bar's open? Or let's show a more useful use case in this particular example. Let's say we want to detect lower close candles. We want to detect if the current bar closes lower than the previous bar's low. To do that, say close less than low, and then use the historical operator to reference the previous bar. So the current bar on my chart, if we were to run this code, less than would be set to true, and then we know that the current bar is a lower close bar. Let's have a look at less than or equal to. So this is useful for engulfing candles because an engulfing candle, at least the way I trade them, is that they don't need to engulf the previous candle's wick. They just need to be above or equal to, in the case of a bullish engulfing candle, the previous candle's open. So as long as we are equal to the previous candle's open or above it, that counts as a bullish engulfing candle to me. How I detect that in my code is I use the less than or equal to operator. So left arrow and then an equal sign, and then we could put in the previous candle's open. So now we're checking if the current bar's close is less than or equal to the previous bar's open, and it will return true if either of those conditions are met. If the close is lower, it will be true. If it's exactly equal, it will also return true. Now let's have a look at the not equal operator. So I'm creating a new variable here called not equal. Let's say we want to eliminate doji candles from our script. So we don't want to detect any candle where the open price is exactly equal to the closing price. So if I drop down to a 1 minute chart here, and I hover over this bar right here, this bar did open exactly where it closed. If you look at my open, high, low, close values up here, the O is equal to the C. If I wanted to eliminate that sort of candlestick pattern from my chart detection for whatever reason, the way I do that is I would say, is the current bar's close not equal to the previous bar's open? So the not equal operator is the exclamation mark and equal sign. So that is how you check if two values are not equal to each other, two numerical values. Now let's say we want to detect this candlestick pattern. We want to detect bars where the close is exactly equal to its open. To do that, we use the equals operator. So if I create a new variable here called equals, and let's say we want to check the current bar's close against its open price, the way we do this is using two equals operators or symbols in a row. And they need to be in a row. If you only have one, then Python script thinks you're trying to assign a variable. So 1 equals means we are assigning a variable or initializing a new variable with a value. If we want to check if two values are equal to each other, we need to use two equals signs in a row, and then we can put in a second value. So now this will be set to true only if the current bar's close is exactly equal to its open value. So that's how we detect equal values. Next, let's have a look at greater than. This is identical to the less than, just the opposite direction. So for example, let's say we want to detect higher close candles instead of lower close. For that, we would check, is the current bar's close greater than the previous bar's high using this right arrow? And you guessed it, for greater than or equal to, it's exactly the same thing, but we use the equal sign. So the right arrow equals, and then we could pass in anything here. Let's just do the same thing we did up here. So this would check if the current bar's closing price value is greater than or equal to the previous bar's opening price. And now this can be applied to indicator values. It can be applied to your own mathematical values. These operators work on all numerical values in your script. And that's it for our math operators for dealing with mathematics, you can also use some of these operators with text. So for example, I could check, is text equal is set to, and then I could say here x equals y. Now this Boolean value here will be false because the text x, the string x, is not equal to y. If I change it to x, this would return true. This would set our variable is text equal to true. And you can also use the not equal operator. So if I save the script, this will all compile just fine. But you obviously cannot use the greater than. Is x greater than x? PineScript doesn't know what that means, so we get an error. It doesn't know what it means for some text to be greater than a different text. So we can only use equals and not equal when dealing with text or any other value for that matter that is not a numerical value. And that brings me to the end of this lesson. We will be using these operators very, very frequently in all of our scripts. So if you need to, if you're new to PineScript, if you're new to coding, you might want to watch this lesson a couple of times until this information sinks in, because we will be using these operators in all of our scripts, pretty much. And with that said, I will speak with you in the next lesson. See you there.